Welcome back to Turkish series stars, the corner of the internet where stories breathe after the spotlights fade, where feelings cling to the edges of memory, and where every carefully hidden truth somehow finds its way into the open. Before we step into today's deeply emotional chapter, remember to subscribe, drop a like, and, if you'd like to support our work even more, tap that join button. Your attention keeps this story-centered world alive and beating. There are media moments that feel like they were rehearsed 100 times, ironed smooth until no real heartbeat remains. What happened when Yaman let his guard fall on live television was nothing like that. It felt raw, unrehearsed, and heavy with something he had clearly tried to pack away, something that wouldn't stay boxed. Viewers tuned into that late-night talk show expecting quick jokes, a light tease about future roles, perhaps a charming anecdote. Instead, they watched an actor sit face-to-face with a feeling that clearly still had his name on it. It all began with a simple question from the host, one of those innocent-seeming prompts that can change the temperature in a room. Is there someone from your past you still think about? The studio went quietly still. Can's jaw tightened slightly, and he gave a small, rueful smile before lowering his eyes. Some people don't go anywhere, he replied softly. Even when you tell yourself it's time to let them go. That was the first crack. The collapse came moments later. Producers had stitched together a career montage, a nostalgic look back at his journey. And amid the action shots and red carpet flashes, there it was, the still from his previous series with Demet Özdemir. The two of them stood close in the frame, that unmistakable screen chemistry shimmering with a tenderness that once echoed life beyond the script. The instant Can saw it, something inside him loosened. His breath caught. His eyes grew bright with sorrow, the kind that refuses to dilute no matter how much time you pour over it. He drew in a careful breath and said, voice unsteady, I told myself it would fade one day. But missing her turned into a habit I live with. I catch glimpses of her in quiet moments, in scenes, in corners of rooms that should feel empty but don't. As that vulnerable moment unfolded, fans of Turkish series stars, we'd love to hear from you. Does time truly heal, or does it simply teach us to carry the ache with quieter steps? Share your thoughts, we read them all. The internet woke up like a storm. Social platforms pulsed with disbelief, tenderness, and waves of wild speculation. Within minutes, his name surged across trending lists, then hers, and soon the internet's favorite portmanteau for the two of them rose with it like a neon sign. Clips of his trembling voice ricocheted across timelines, images softened with gentle music and heartfelt captions, as if the audience collectively decided to turn his pain into digital art. But the interview itself wasn't the only spark. Sharper-eyed fans noticed a detail that casual viewers would have missed. On his wrist, a thin bracelet, simple, barely visible beneath the cuff, but instantly recognizable to those who remember the early days of their story. Rumor has long held that Demet gave it to him on a significant anniversary, a date now kept alive only in memory. Questions bloomed overnight. Was he wearing it on purpose? Was it a quiet signal, a nod to a chapter that keeps calling his name? Demet didn't answer directly, but her silence didn't feel empty. Days earlier, she had posted a fleeting Instagram story, the kind that disappears almost as soon as it arrives. It was a song the two of them were known to play back when their laughter felt endless and the future seemed theirs to sketch. One lyric hovered like a secret only half hidden, sometimes staying silent says more than speaking. Those close to the actress added their own brushstrokes. They say she's been wandering through old photographs, revisiting the places that hold their echoes, drifting into quiet when someone mentions the past. And then there was the gala. Demet arrived in a soft sky blue gown, the exact shade she wore in the final scene of their beloved series. Fashion coincidence or deliberate symbolism? The public is still arguing about it. Back here at Turkish series stars, we have to ask, is Demet sending signals, or are we, the audience, finding constellations where there are only stars? Tell us what you think below. Your theories shape the conversation. The story deepened when a well-placed entertainment journalist, visiting the set of Can's new project, slipped out a delicate revelation. According to the source, Can asked for a scene that would carry a symbolic nod to a chapter that shaped him emotionally. The writers refused to comment on which chapter that might be, but fans drew their own conclusions in seconds. Was it a tribute to Demet? A whisper of respect for a love that refused the final act? And the narrative didn't end there. After the cameras stopped rolling that night, another fragment surfaced, one not meant for public eyes. A crew member, phone hidden, recorded a dim, shaky video from outside Can's dressing room. In the clip, he sits alone, elbows on his knees, staring at a photograph. The image is blurry, but fans didn't need clarity. They identified it quickly, a behind-the-scenes shot of Can and Demet from the earliest days on set, when every scene felt like a beginning. If you turn your volume up, you can hear him, voice barely a thread, some memories won't leave. Maybe they shouldn't. It hit like a confession. Comment sections erupted with 1,000 variations of the same plea, they belong together, Demet, please hear him, real love doesn't vanish overnight. As if that wasn't enough, a close friend of the actor added another layer. Since the breakup, the friend said, Can has kept a private journal. Every day he writes something about Demet. Not to hurt himself, but to hold on to what shaped him. A scent. A phrase she loved. A look nobody else would notice. Fans swiftly transformed that private ritual into a public wish, urging him to publish it someday, to share the pages that capture the pieces of a story everyone still wants to believe in. Then came the twist that set the internet ablaze. An anonymous account leaked an audio clip allegedly recorded in a cozy Istanbul cafe. The voice, sounding so much like Can that people barely paused to question, said, if she asked, I'd walk away from everything, work, plans, all of it, to start from zero with her. Whether authentic or not, the public didn't wait for verification. They decided with their hearts. And Demet's own gestures continued to feed the current. At that same charity gala, the one where she wore that sky-blue memory, attendees whispered that she seemed far away, as if her thoughts were busy turning over pages she once swore shut. Hours later, another detail slipped through the cracks. Can and Demet followed the same romantic poetry page on social media on the very same day. Coincidence or cosmic choreography? To the faithful, it felt like fate tapping on the glass. An old interview quote from Demet resurfaced everywhere, revived like a chorus the audience knew by heart, true love doesn't disappear. It steps out of sight until it finds a path back. No one has confirmed a reunion. Neither Can nor Demet has stepped up to declare anything official. But the space between them hums again, charged with unsent messages, half-finished thoughts, and the warmth of a story that refuses to cool. The press keeps asking questions, the fans keep answering with hope. Think back to the last words of Can's televised conversation. He didn't name her, but he didn't have to. He let his voice fall into a hush and said something that landed like a key turning in an old lock. Sometimes it only takes an instant, a glance, a single word, to realize the love never actually left. Here at Turkish series Stars, we'll be right where we've always been, watching the horizon for the smallest shift, following every breath of this story as it writes itself in real time. Make sure you're subscribed, leave your thoughts down below, and hit that join button if you want to help us keep telling these stories the way they deserve to be told. Until the next chapter opens, be soft with your heart and with the hearts that cross your path. But before we close, there's more to this tapestry, the details that didn't make the broadcast but echoed in the hallways afterward. A stylist from the show mentioned that the bracelet on Can's wrist looked well cared for, polished as if someone had taken a cloth to it just that morning. That detail matters, because you don't polish something you've forgotten. Around the same time, a music producer claimed that the song Demet shared has a private meaning for them, reportedly the track they would play at the end of long shooting days, when the set lights dimmed and the city felt like it belonged just to them. Friends say Demet has been keeping late hours lately, scrolling through old albums, pausing on candid snaps where the smiles look unguarded, where laughter seems to ring out of frame. One picture in particular keeps coming up in fan threads, the two of them sitting on a curb between takes, paper cups in their hands, faces turned toward each other as if the rest of the world could wait. People swear you can see it there, the unspoken language they shared when cameras were nowhere in sight. As for Can, the journal rumor has taken on a life of its own. Some say each entry begins with the date in a single sensory memory, citrus that reminds him of summer mornings on set, the scrape of gravel under their shoes when they rehearsed outside, the way Demet would tug her sleeves when she was trying not to smile. Experts in storytelling have come forward to say this practice isn't self-punishment, it's a way of honoring what made him who he is. The fans responded by drafting open letters asking him to preserve the journal somewhere safe, even if it never sees the light of day. Because some stories, they argue, deserve to be protected even more than they deserve to be shared. After the leaked audio, a quiet countercurrent emerged. People who were at the cafe insisted there was no attempt to be overheard, that the voice, if it was his, sounded like someone speaking to a trusted confidant, not a publicist or an eager ear. The words themselves were simple, almost startling in their clarity. If she reached out, he would clear the slate. Careers don't bend easily, and schedules don't suddenly empty. But sometimes a single choice rearranges everything. And then there's the sky blue dress. Fashion watchers pointed out that the fabric wasn't just similar to the iconic scene, it seemed intentionally chosen to match the tone of that memory. They suggest that color is a language Demet speaks fluently. Some colors close a door. Others open a window. That particular shade? It felt like a door left ajar. What happens next is anyone's guess. Maybe they meet for coffee in a quiet place, away from cameras. Maybe they exchange messages only they will ever read. Maybe they stand in a room, just the two of them, and realize that every path they took away from each other somehow led them to the same doorway, and that they simply have to step through it at the same time. Or maybe they remain two constellations that look close from a distance but move on separate orbits. Not all stories reconcile on command. Some simply learn how to glow without touching. Still, the signs keep coming. That poetry page they both followed posted a line the next morning about love finding its way home without a map. Fans flooded the comments, saying it felt like an answer to a question they'd been asking for years. The page liked a few of those comments, and that tiny gesture became news on its own. It always does. In the end, what we have is a moment on live television that refused to be clean and tidy, a moment that shook loose the shields of a man used to keeping them firmly in place. We have an actress moving through public spaces with symbols hanging from her shoulders like a whisper only those who know the language can hear. We have friends who hint, a bracelet that gleams under studio lights, a journal full of fragments, and a recording that may or may not be him but sounds exactly like the truth. We have an audience unwilling to stop believing in the possibility that some loves pause but do not end. So we'll keep listening. We'll keep watching. And when that next hint arrives? A look caught at a traffic light, a song played in the background of a story, a single line in an interview that seems to vibrate with a deeper frequency, you'll hear about it here first. Because this, more than anything, is what we do at Turkish series stars, we follow the threads of feeling, the quiet beats between headlines, the spaces where two people might be rediscovering the map to each other. Until then, keep the conversation going. Tell us if you think the bracelet was a deliberate signal. Tell us if you believe the audio. Tell us if that sky blue fabric was a message stitched in silk. And tell us what you hope for, a public reunion and a chapter 2, or a private piece that belongs to them alone. There's no wrong answer here. There is only the hope that everyone finds what they're looking for, on camera or off. Once more, this is Turkish series stars, and we'll be here when the next page turns. Subscribe, leave a comment, and hit join if you want to help us keep the lights on for these stories. Until we meet again, treat your heart with care and extend that same care to the hearts that linger in yours, no matter how long they've been gone.